This is the premier show for Lundon Calling's Lundon Bridge talk show, where we bridge the gaps with 3 generations of gays. Bridging those generation gaps are your hosts, Sean Chandler, Donny Winter, and Ace Lundon. As the elder at age 80, I shall moderate the show, with Sean at age 50 and Donny somewhere in his 20s. Let's see how the generations think. I surely don't know yet, but we'll find out. Welcome to the show, folks. Please fasten your seatbelts. No topic is taboo, and we warn you in advance that there are a few potty mouths on the show. Yes, there are only 3 of us, but a few of us are, well, actually all 3 of us are potty mouths. Let's face it, folks. Okay. Sean Chandler, Donny Winter, we are the new view. The gay view, by the way. Mm-hmm. Sean, are you there?
I sure am. I'm sitting here in New York City.
You're in New York City?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness sakes.
I'm to New York, yes. Me and the Pope.
Yeah, you and the Pope is right. And Donny, where in the world are you?
I am in Warrensburg, Missouri, right in the middle of the country. Well, almost in the middle of the country.
It certainly is. Almost, that's for sure. And I'm here in Bullhead City, Arizona, on the border of California and Nevada, next to the Lundon Bridge down in Lake Havasu. Well, what a wild group we do have here. And folks, I don't know what we're going to be doing because it's a talk show, and we don't follow scripts any more than any real talk show follows scripts. They usually say, okay, it's time for a guest. Well, we don't have any guests coming on, so that type of thing we don't set up. But I hope that you will be anxious to let us know what you'd like to hear from us. And you can just email us, and that way we'll find out what you want to hear. And we'll talk about it because we know how to talk. Now, where are we going? Where are we going? Oh, my goodness. It reminds me of where are we going? Where are we going? What are we going to do? We're on our way to somewhere, the 3 of us. And you, folks. Who will be there? What will we do there? What will be the big surprise? Will there be caballeros with dark and flashing eyes? We're on our way, folks, and you're coming with us. And I'm looking for the caballeros like the Andrews sisters did and Carmen Miranda, who sang that song back in the 40s. Anyway, I want you to know who our hosts are here. So I'm going to have each of them, Sean and Donny, tell you a little bit about themselves, because how are you going to know a person if they don't tell you about themselves? How do you know where they're coming from if you haven't been able to find out where they've been? And so I'm going to start out with Sean because he's the elder in the 50 age group, and he's over the hill. So anyway, Sean, tell our listeners, our new listeners on this premiere show, who you are.
Hey, everyone. I'm Sean Chandler. I'm originally from Southern California. I was born and raised there. Recently moved to the Big Apple, New York City, a couple of months ago. I lived there with my husband, David Leeper, who I have been with for 26 years, and I have been married to for the last 8. We got married in 2008 during the Prop 8 window, which is what we call it in California. We run a talent payment business. In addition to that, I am a writer. I co-wrote a play with my husband called At the Flash that won a major playwriting award, a gay playwriting award out of Chicago, and it has been produced 4 times, once in Chicago, once in LA, once in Dublin, Ireland, and once in Philadelphia. I'm working on a couple of musicals. I've written scripts for TV shows and movies, and I like chocolate ice cream, and I like watching TV. I like watching cartoons, and that's me. I'm very simple. I'm the middle-aged guy here. I'm very happily married and complacent in my life, and I love it.
Well, Sean, I heard you were once an alcoholic.
I was. Oh my gosh, it's been so long that sometimes I forget. Although I did celebrate 26 years of sobriety on the 25th. Yeah, I've been clean and sober since 1989, which I think is the year that Donny Winter was born.
Almost.
So it's been so long I don't even remember what it was like to be drunk.
So our alcoholic listeners can know that they have a sympathetic ear with you.
Indeed. Absolutely.
Were you also a druggie?
Oh, yeah. My drug of choice was marijuana, but I did cocaine, LSD, uppers, downers. I did everything but stick a needle in my arm, which is, fortunate under the circumstances that I grew up in. And I didn't drink every day, but when I drank to absolute blackout. I just couldn't have one drink. I mean, as they say, one is too many and 1,000 is not enough. So I did 3 of it.
Well, that sort of lets us know a little bit about you. Are you an only child, spoiled rotten?
I am not. I actually have 2 brothers and 1 sister, and they are Brian. My brother Brian is married, and he has a girl who is 20 years old. That's my niece. Just came out and visited David and me, a couple weeks ago. Had a great time. Then my brother, who is between, actually he's my youngest brother, he lives in Atascadero with his wife, and they have a little girl. And then my sister Christy, who I think you're friends with on Facebook, lives in Alabama with her husband and her 2 kids. And so,
how in the world is it that in a family of 4 you turned out to be gay? Isn't it something that you choose? Did you choose it, or what in the world?
Oh, we all know that you don't choose to be gay. You're just born gay. It's in your genetics, and no.
Oh, my evangelical friends tell me that I chose to be this way.
Well, that is a huge, huge, huge misunderstanding that we try over and over and over again to clear up, and it doesn't happen, and it's just one of the battles that we're going to continuously have until religion stops, which is going to be never, because people are afraid of where they're going to go when they die, so they have to have some sort of certainty with that. But having the Pope here, my mind has just been spinning with religious theories and philosophies and contradictions. It's just crazy. I kind of wanted to talk about that in the show today, but
I think so too, because I think it's a good idea. But I want to hear from Donny first. I want to kind of talk a little bit about the fact that is it possible to be an out of the closet gay and be a full blown member of some religion or religious group? Is it possible? Because, well, who knows? Well, we'll get into that maybe in a little bit. Okay.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. And I actually am aware of and saw a very openly gay celebrity, not a big celebrity, but a smaller celebrity, particularly in New York, who did one of the readings at the Mass in Madison Square Garden.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll bring his name up. And, I have a lot to say on it. We should probably get to Donny before I just have diarrhea of the mouth.
Okay, Donny, take over. How old are you, by the way, Donny? Yeah, we were wondering.
I am 26. I was born in 1988, actually. I think you said 89, Sean, right? Close enough. Well, my name, as I had said, is Donny Winter. I'm actually quite an eclectic person. I find myself to be boring, but my friends are usually like, Donny, you do too much, which I sometimes can see where they're coming from. I am most notably on YouTube. I like to do video blogging. I discuss a variety of subjects revolving around LGBTQ activism. I talk a lot about bullying, survival, because I'm a survivor as well. I recently have gotten into discussing sexual assault within the gay community as well. I am a musician, a writer. Right now, I am going to school to get my master's degree because I want to teach at the university level at some point. And let's see, what else?
Are you teaching now?
Yes, I am teaching now. Mm-hmm.
And what do you teach?
I teach basic level composition at the university here. Oh, by the way, I'm originally from West Branch, Michigan, but now I'm living in Missouri. I know it's quite the change, but it's been an interesting experience so far. But overall, my goal with my YouTube and everything that I do is to help show people, especially people in the LGBTQ community, that to not be afraid to express themselves, to not be afraid to share their stories, because we all at one point in our lives experience some form of, trauma or difficulty. And I feel that instead of, repressing it and, keeping it silenced, that we can build bridges between people and help one another heal and come to a mutual understanding. So that's my spiel.
Are you an only child?
No, actually, I have a little brother. He's 3 years younger than me.
Just the two of you, huh?
Yep, just the two of us. Of course, he is the troublemaker, and I'm the goody two-shoes. Naturally.
Yeah, naturally. It's like my brother and myself, 4.5 years difference, The poor kid, he had to be my baby brother. Anyway. Folks, you don't need to know anything about me because poor Sean went through, 70-some shows trying to figure out who in the hell I am, And so you'll have to just look at the Empty Closet series shows and you'll find out all about me. So I think we'll just have to take it from there unless you guys have something you want to pin the tail on my donkey or something.
Well, if anybody really wants to know about you, they can definitely ask me.
Okay.
I got the inside track on you, mister.
Yeah. Plus, somebody said...
Well, I mean, Ace, I think it's important, too, because in doing this show, we're inviting a bunch of other people to be an audience, people that I know, people that Sean know as well. And, I mean, I feel like by discussing... by building bridges between 3 different generations, we're automatically going to attract people. And I think it's important for people to know that I believe, if I remember correctly, it was you that came up with this idea, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Lundon Calling, yes. Well, it's my name, Lundon, And I love that song when it came out, Lundon Calling, and we used that song as the, the entryway for the Lundon Calling original shows with we did 5 years of shows. My goodness, Lance down in Atlanta, Georgia, and I. Yes, Lance Helms. Anyway, that's where it all started back 5 years ago. I just finished doing a regular radio show out here at KTOX. Did 19 months or weeks, or I don't know what it was. I did a regular radio show. But I get tired with all of the political correctness crap. And so I decided after that was finished, I said, okay, I'm not going to do anything. And then our webmaster on the show today, Mike, came up with the idea, why don't you do a podcast show? Well, I'd never heard of a podcast, So he had to explain it to me. And I says, that sounds good because I don't have to watch my words that I say. I can say words that are normal words like penis or vagina and not get bleeped off the air and things like that. And because, I'm too much of a person that lives in reality. No matter what anyone says, I definitely favor reality to living in fantasy, except in my sexual life, So, again, you'll know what this is like when you get to be 80. You must have a fantasy life. And that's why I always told my kids, don't be afraid to live in fantasy once in a while, because it's an important thing to learn. You're going to use fantasy before you die for damn sure. Okay. Now, let's go back to that thing. Can you be an out-of-the-closet gay person or lesbian person and still be a part of a major or minor religious denomination? Or, you know what I mean, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this celebrity I was telling you about who did one of the readings during the Mass. I don't know if you watched the Mass at Madison Square Garden, but his name is Mo Rocca.
Oh,
and
yes.
He is known for being, I believe, on The Daily Show years back. He has been in musicals out here. My sister and I actually saw him in a musical called the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee out here. And also he is has like a cooking show. Well, he is openly gay. And he actually did a reading during this service for the Pope. And my feeling about that is that, I don't know, I really, really wanted to like this Pope. I really did, because he just seems so warm and he gravitates immediately to people who are on respirators or who are considered to be deformed or struggling, and babies. I mean, he reaches out immediately and connects with people who are on the fringe, if you will. But I just don't like that when he would talk about gay people, he seems to espouse the love the sinner, hate the sin sort of philosophy, which drives me nuts. I think it's so condescending and superior.
That happens to be not his maybe philosophy. It happens to be the church doctrine.
Oh, I know. And
so that's really what I'm saying. I'm saying, can a gay person still be a part of anything that is a religious-oriented thing, like a denomination? Like, I feel so sorry for my poor Muslim friends. That if they come out of the closet, their tits in a ringer, they'll be killed, and that's true in a number of religions around the world. And Lord help you if you're a Southern Baptist, holy mackerel.
Well, Ace, we have to also remember that but when you stated your question, I figured you were talking to many of the more organized large religions out there. And, I can honestly say that, like, pagans, for example, they are quite accepting of people. And recently I learned this in one of my classes because I was studying native religions a couple of semesters ago. And our Western society, is shifting to a more personal-based spiritual concept, meaning that instead of admonishing ourselves to mainstream religions or the larger organized religions, we're kind of creating spirituality or religion from within. And I think it's important for us to also examine how religion is changing right now, because we see all of these different things in the media challenging religion and challenging how we define it and reflecting on how it's changed. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
How old were you when you came out of the closet, Donny?
I was 18.
18? Oh my God. How old were you, Sean, when you came out?
I was 19 years old.
Oh my, both of you are so young. It took me 40 years to get out of that damn closet.
Well, you were of a very different generation and of a different time. I mean, Donny, you probably have the most rights you automatically have the most rights out of the three of us when you came out of the closet, believe it or not, even as diminished as you felt. When I came out of the closet, it was like 1984, Reagan was in office, and just being gay was just like such a huge risk. There weren't a lot of protections. And Ace, you came out in the 70s where maybe there was a little
70s. I didn't come out in the 70s. I came out late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, well, that's the 70s.
Okay.
You're doing your semantics, I swear. But there was probably a little bit of a heyday with gay liberation, and although there was still a lot of animosity towards gay people. But then again, you came out and then all of a sudden you were smacked right in the face with AIDS, which kind of set us back a little bit. Well, actually, a lot.
In the 80s, yeah, that hit in the 80s, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I feel you, Donny. I hear you, what you're saying about the advancement of religion. I know that like Episcopalians have become a lot more lenient with their religion as far as accepting gay members. And I know that this particular Pope, when asked about gay priests, because a lot of priests are coming out of the closet, and technically they're allowed to be homosexual. They're just not allowed to practice homosexuality. And this particular Pope, Pope Francis, says, and I quote, "Who am I to judge?"
Yeah, you can be human, but don't be too human. Okay. Okay. Good God.
Yeah, and again, it's the love the sinner, hate the sin. It's like, oh, I love you, but you're going to go straight to what we consider to be the worst thing in the entire, scope of the universe, and here before and after.
Yeah.
And it just burns me up because it's like so condescending to say something like that to somebody.
One of my evangelical friends, a doctor down in Florida, who is a Pentecostal background, he told me, he says, "Ace, I love you." And I said, "No, you don't." He said, "Yes, I do." I said, "No, you don't. You love me only because you want to win me over to Christ. That is your love for me. You don't love me. You love the fact that you might be able to convert me." And he couldn't say a word.
Good. You called him out on it. And that's exactly, don't talk out of both sides of your mouth. Mm-hmm. Pick your stance and stick to it and deal with the ramifications. I don't think you can have it both ways. It's just.
And the thing is, so many religions have, years ago, back in the winter, way back, when I was in college, a number of the religions and the religious young people in the college. I asked this one girl, I says, "How come you never cut your hair?" She says, "It's not allowed in the Nazarene church." And I said, "And is that why you wear strange clothing on your dresses? You never wear anything that looks really nice. You just like a sack, She says, it's part of us." And I thought, oh my God, okay. And that's true. And in the Muslim religion, you've got clothing, things that you have to wear. You've got to be at prayer at certain times. That's as bad as the evangelicals. There's, Wednesday night prayer meeting, Sunday morning service, Sunday night service. And of course, then there are the ladies' aids meetings and all everything that you go to. And they're musts. That you participate in these things if you're going to be a good religious person in that particular denomination. That's why I wonder if it's even possible to be a gay and a member of some of these denominations.
I just can't help but think that when you put yourself in that position, you're diminishing yourself a little bit. You're saying, I'm okay with being a less than individual in here in this particular in this church. I can't imagine that you'd be openly gay and people wouldn't necessarily look down on you. And this is actually a controversial opinion for me, because we've actually done our play At the Flash in a church that was very, very, very liberal, that loved everybody. But this is the exception to the rule, in my opinion. It is. I mean, these people were great. They were wonderful. But I don't think I've ever seen a church like that in my life. But it may also be that theory feeds into what you were talking about from your class, Donny, about religion sort of evolving. They were a lot more spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like in the religious groups, you really have to toe the mark of their doctrine, and that's where the the tire meets the road, right there. It's like when I was in the ministry, there was a young lady that I had spoken to. She was a prostitute, and I invited her to come to church. And she did come to the church. Well, we had a packed house at the church that particular day. So she couldn't get a back seat. So she had to walk all the way down the aisle into the front. And as she walked down in her slinky, skimpy outfit, dress, that showed London and France and everything in between, everybody in the audience was going, oh my God, they were having hissy fits. And afterwards, I could not keep my tongue. I said, okay, you are condemning this woman because she looked like a prostitute, which she was. But you condemned her because of her looks. And if she ever comes back, it would be a miracle, But you cannot. I think that religious people feel they have the right to condemn others. They have the law of God at their back, and so therefore they can condemn easily. And they do their condemnations, all of them, because of their doctrines.
And aren't religions supposed to be based in love and acceptance and the renewal of the spirit and the soul? I mean, at their base, I would think that that's what a good majority of the religions are supposed to be doing for people. And then you have a situation like that, and that's just layers and layers and layers and layers of human bureaucracy going on in the church that just taint it and close it off to a situation like that. Because, I mean, that lady's not gay, so they're not, she's just easy and loose.
Yes.
And apparently you can come back from that in the church. I don't know.
See, I feel like we're focusing our conversation on Judeo-Christian religions specifically, and we have to take into consideration that there are other religions out there, other large organized religions. The largest religion in the world is Muslim. Mm-hmm.
That's
true.
The largest. Well, Southern Baptist is the largest here in this country after the Catholics.
Well, I think Donny has a good point. I mean, and you're talking about some other different kinds of religions, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm talking like Buddhism and to some degree Hinduism. And we also have to remember that there are also religious groups within our own country who promote like the individual over, the culture, like the like Mike mentioned this in the chat room, the Unitarians, they promote like the fact that a person can choose what they believe. And I think this again comes back to how religion is changing. So I think depending on the situation, an openly gay person can be a part of one of these religions. It just really depends on what religion it is. Now, when it comes to like I cannot speak tonight, Judeo-Christian religions, I think it's a little bit more difficult because those religions are still largely defined by the group as a whole as opposed to the individual. So whatever the group decides, that becomes the doctrine. And of course, that was decided long ago. So that removes the individual from the spiritual experience and imposes a set of rules that people at one point in time created.
It's like my grandmother said to me when in I think it was 1937 that or 6 or 7, I'm not sure, when I was just barely born. That was when the day the world stood still, or whatever it was, that the name of that radio show that Orson Welles did. You remember that, Sean?
I know what you're talking about, where he did the Martian landing or whatever it was.
Yes, the Martians landed. Anyway, my grandmother was talking to me, and I was a young man, and she says, "Do you know what would have happened if that was real?" And I didn't know what she was talking about. She says, "I would have had to change everything I have been taught in church if the Martians actually did land." And I says, "Really?" She says, "Yes. Yeah, I would have to have a major change in my thinking, and my teachings would have to be just set aside and we'd start over. Because the landing of aliens on our planet would do that to religion. It would totally capsize all of the religions."
That is a really, really astute observation.
Oh, Grandma was something else.
I know. I never thought of it that way, but she is absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
because whether it's Judeo-Christian, Muslim, or no matter what it is, those aliens would certainly take care of any of their doctrine and say, "What? Where did you come up with these things?" And then we'd have to admit that they all started with mythology. Every religion started with mythology. And they developed from the mythologies of the way past into what they became. And this includes Christianity. And it includes certainly Islam also. It definitely starts with the mythologies of the past. Thor, Odin, and all of the great gods from mythology. Anyway.
Primarily serving to control the people.
Yeah. Well, they had to do something because, as the population was growing, et cetera, and you can't control a population that is not under your control. Mm-hmm. So, if they are members of a church, they are under the control of the church, and therefore, the big boys on top can keep track of all of the others.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And equated consequences that we have to deal with in a modern society.
No, not all of my generation believes like I do, by the way, because my generation still is stuck with all of the things of the past that they've been taught, and they haven't really thought their way out into the age of 80 yet. But they seem to be a little looser by the time we reach 80 than they were when they were 50.
Mm-hmm. Now, I hope to achieve that type of philosophical nature myself, but I'm just not there yet at my age.
Yeah, well, you're young.
I'm still hopping mad over the whole damn thing. On that note, you guys, why don't we take a break and I'll do some commercials. And then when we come back, I kind of, if it's okay, want to talk about this Martin Shkreli. He is the guy who bought the AIDS drug Daraprim and then turned around and wanted to sell it for like 5,000 times the amount. So you guys will indulge on that.
Okay.
Okay, let's give a quick thank you to our sponsors. First off, we'd like to thank eclecticresources.net. This is an awesome company run by our brilliant engineer, Miraculous Mike Means, and his lovely wife, my girl Juanita, for great stage and theatrical and jewelry design, audio and video editing. Please visit their website at www.eclectic-resources.net. Next, and equally as fabulous, let's thank our friends at Diversity Rules Magazine, a wonderful LGBT-focused online magazine that can be found at www.diversityrulesmagazine.com, and also now as an app on your smartphone, which I have on my phone as well. Diversity Rules Magazine, celebrating the diversity of our humanity. If you'd like to learn more about the legendary Ace Lundon, you can visit his blog, Scattered Thoughts from a Scrambled Brain, where he waxes funny and philosophic on a wide range of topics. And you can locate that on the web at acelundon.wordpress.com. And just so you know, that picture of him eating a sundae or a shake or whatever that is was taken by me. If you enjoy watching YouTube videos, check out our Donny Winter's YouTube channel at youtube.com/Donny Winter, where he discusses a variety of subjects ranging from his own personal experience of being a bullying survivor to becoming a major voice in LGBT activism. Through his videos, Donny strives to help others overcome the silence we're shamed into when we experience traumatic experiences, as well as shed light on current issues within the LGBT community. To learn more about me, yours truly, my name is Sean Chandler. You can visit my writer's website at www.sean, that's SEANW, Chandler.com, that's SeanWChandler.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at SeanAtTheFlash. And of course, don't forget to visit our Lundon Calling Lundon Bridge website for posted shows and updates at www.lundon-calling.com. And don't forget to go and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Lundon Bridge, and that's London with a U. And there we go, gentlemen.
Very good, very good.
Excellent.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's not my first time.
No, it isn't.
So what do you guys think about this clown, this Martin Shkreli, sorry, he has a weird name to pronounce, who bought up the AIDS drug Daraprim? I've never heard of it. It must be, part of the cocktail. And he was going to take a $5 pill and then start charging $750 per pill, per pill price point, which is like a jump of a 5,550% increase. I think this guy is just, ugh.
I will never understand that type of greed. If I live to be another 80 years, I do not understand that greed situation, even though it has existed in my family tree, etc. Greed is a strange monster. Strange monster.
Mm-hmm. I feel like he did it almost out of spite, because I was reading a few news articles about it, and I was watching a few news videos about it too, and he basically was like, well, people don't understand like the math behind it. People don't understand the prices and stuff. And I don't know, the general vibe I got from him is that he really just doesn't care. Like one of those people that, he doesn't really have any fleeting thought about how this affects people whatsoever. And it really angered me because I don't understand why people with that much power and with that mentality are able to make these types of decisions.
Well, he owned it. He bought it. That's the thing. And as a matter of, capitalism, he's taking advantage.
It's kind of sociopathic in a way when you think about it. It's he knows what he's doing.
Oh, yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Well, apparently people are coming down kind of hard on him.
That's good.
Like a giant piano drop from, 150 stories. And he has now said there were mistakes made with respect to helping people understand why we took this action. I think it makes sense to lower the price in response to the anger that was felt by people, is what he's saying now because of the fact that he got so much heat for it. Well, no duh, guy.
Yeah, yeah.
He's playing with people's health. And this reminds me, Ace, of back in the early days of AIDS, when AZT came out.
That was in the 90s, yes.
Yeah, it was like the early to mid 90s when they finally found AZT. And at first it was really, really expensive and really, really hard to get. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I don't want to go back to this because the company that had it before, they were making like about a $5 million a year profit off of this drug just by selling it for like, what was it, $13.50 per pill. And now this guy comes in and thinks he's going to, I don't know. And they're also saying because of some of the behaviors, like what you were talking about, Donny, that they're thinking that he's thinking that he can just like sort of say this and then hope everybody's going to forget about it and then just price gouge anyways.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what he's charging for the drug now.
Well, right now it's $13.50. I don't know when the sale is going to go through. I just have an article here from Yahoo. But he's going to supposedly, he was going to raise it to $750. Even if he splits the difference, that's still like $375 for a pill.
Yeah, how can these people with AIDS afford that type of thing? They've got in debt up to their neck already. You know, when you get that type of an illness, cancer, et cetera, you're lucky to be able to afford food on the table, let alone $300 for a pill.
Well, yeah, that, or it's going to go into some sort of, like the government's going to have to buy it. It's going to be government subsidized, which of course filters down to the public. You know, that we end up paying for that anyways, just because this clown wants to be greedy.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just bad. And this is somebody, I don't know how old he is, who obviously didn't watch.
I think he's in his 30s.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of him, and he looks like he's 30s, but he's definitely not of the age where he watched people die, and he watched the beginnings of AIDS and just the swath that it cut through. Not just the gay community, but by everybody. Like
it was the plague of the last century, and it's going on. It still continues.
Oh yeah. It remains to be a huge plague, and I don't know. Something just makes me want to sit this guy in a room and like show him movies like Longtime Companion, and show him films and documentaries about people who died of AIDS. I mean, you yourself, Ace, experienced it firsthand with your ex. Well, not your ex, with Patrick before he died.
Yeah.
And he needs to experience that kind of horrific exposure.
See, but my question is, though, even if he did, is he the type of person mentally who would be able to connect with that? And just by the way he phrases things and the way he reacts to things, I genuinely feel like he is a person who does not care. Which is sad.
I think you're probably correct with that, Donny. I really do. Yeah, I think he could care less. Yeah.
Yeah, he does sort of very much exhibit like sociopathic behavior.
Yeah.
You know, like I really don't care what my behavior. I don't really care about the effect of my behavior on society. You know, it's all about me. And I tell you, all you have to do is experience one or two of those kind of people in your life personally.
Oh, he's no different than Charlie Manson.
Explain. Go on.
Charles Manson, mass murderer. You know, who got all those girls and guys to kill Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring and a bunch of people. He is no different than Charlie. He really has no decent thoughts about society, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like he has much of a conscience going on.
Those people don't have. Of course, I don't have a conscience either, but I'm old.
Well, yes, you do.
You'd think so.
Well, the thing is, Ace, you're capable of empathizing or sympathizing with people. I feel like this person doesn't have that quality. I just feel like you're at the point where, and I'm going to be a potty mouth here, there are no more fucks in your fuck it bucket.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Did you just make that up, or that's great?
Oh, that's something that I've said for a while now. I made it up about a year ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just had like a super apathetic day, and I was like, you know what? There are no more fucks in my fucking bucket right now. And then I had coffee and felt better, of course.
Yes.
And you win tonight. Well, I agree. I think you're right about that. Well, I think also that there's a younger generation who should be concerned about something like this, particularly because people are younger gay men are starting to feel a lot more comfortable about having bareback sex and being exposed to AIDS and HIV because of the drugs that are out there. I mean, there's PrEP now that people can take, and there's just a confidence now that I think this messes with.
It's like this veil of security that, you know, it's like, oh, no matter what happens, everything will be okay. And the problem also is my generation does not have the conversation. They don't talk about this type of thing.
Really?
They don't discuss the ramifications of diseases like this. They don't discuss the ramifications of issues within our community. And I mean, that's one thing that I get super heated about, because I always feel like there needs to always be some form of conversation going on, because we need to introspect within our own community.
Well, you know, Donny, in the teens and the 20s, that's the years when syphilis and gonorrhea can run rampant. Don't ask me why I know that, but it's true in the 20s. Now, do your young friends ever talk about syphilis or gonorrhea?
No.
No? Do they ever get it? If they do,
I'm not sure. I mean, like that, like I said, there's no conversation. It's like it's a fleeting thought.
Well, what about when you're considering having intimacy or sex with a guy? Do you have the conversation?
Oh, yeah. I basically put them through a very hefty interview process.
fill out the paperwork, please.
Let me see your ID.
How do they respond to that?
And a lot of them respond in a very surprised way. And the thing is, though, I feel bad that it's a conversation that we even need to have in the first place. But a lot of people don't understand that, you know, it is something serious that needs to be talked about. And I've had guys before who have been insulted by it, and it's one reason why I refrain from being intimate a lot of the time, is because people aren't immediately forthright about their experiences. And because they feel obligated that they shouldn't have to be. And, you know, to a degree, I agree, because it's their personal lives. But, I mean, with how things are, that information needs to be talked about, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was your age, it absolutely had to be talked about, because it was a life or death situation. And it wasn't, you know, maybe you're going to be on PrEP or a cocktail for the rest of your life, and you'll have to deal with that. It was, you're going to die if you get this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a lot more serious. And
Yeah, that is your generation, Sean. Yeah, that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the AIDS and HIV did way more than it did a lot, obviously, physically and mortality wise, but mentally, it really, I think it really fucked with a lot of people of my generation's minds. It's like sex is something that is just not. I don't know. There's no freeness to it.
Yeah, it did put a damper on things. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I never really had great free sex in my life. It was always like Ace. You probably had it before.
Yeah.
Don, I know, Donny. You have very high standards, and that's good. It is really good for a lot of other things besides that. But
everybody would agree, but I'm glad that someone agrees.
Well, no, from what I understand, but you're of a generation that is like, we can relax a little bit because of the medical protections we have, because people are living with the disease now.
Whereas my generation, when the young men, we didn't know about homosexuals when I was young. We knew that, we were just men. And we would talk about crabs or syph or gonorrhea, We would talk about those things. The boys would, never mention it in front of women. Mm-hmm. But, we talked about it.
Oh, yeah. There's always, like, outbreaks of syphilis going on in, like, gay ghettos, from what I understand. From the bathhouses and gyms and things like that. And people just having, slutty sex.
Yeah. Isn't it wonderful?
Well, I don't know. I have my opinions about that, but we might dedicate that to a different show.
Okay.
Bloody sex?
Well, I understand that obviously sexual orientation is a huge identity, but I feel like a lot of people also get lost in the sexualization of our community in general because, a lot of it, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love sex. Sex is totally awesome, but I feel like sometimes we place too much of our identities on that act as opposed to, cultivating a more individualized concept of what it means to be a gay person or what it means to be a lesbian. Not everybody agrees with me on that.
I think that fits into the straight community as well, Donny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we are a society that is just way oversexed. We value the idea of a sexualized concept over an intellectual concept just within our culture.
Well, and I think a lot of the reason why we're so over-sexualized now is because for centuries we had this Puritan mindset where, oh my gosh, sex is horrible unless you're married and blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, oh, well, we're more individualized now. We're free from that. So let's be free spirits. And, but people don't take into consideration that there needs to be a balance between the two. And that's honestly why I have such high standards, because while sex and intimacy are both extremely important to me, those aren't the only aspects of me. There is a lot, like, this cake has more than just frosting. There's a whole cake. If you don't like the whole cake, you're not just going to have the frosting. You need the whole thing.
Wow, 2 snaps up and around the world. Did you hear that, Ace?
I heard that, yeah.
Well, it's true.
Well, I look at it in this fashion. Man is an animal species. And I know as my mother said, well, I'm not an animal. Yeah, I said, Mother, you are. I sucked your breast. That makes you a mammal. And I'm a mammal. We are mammals. Now, as mammals, as animals, as members of a species of animal, in this great animal kingdom that exists on our planet, we are acting normal as animals when sex is involved, because animals are sexual beings. Therefore, it is natural as all get out to have sex of any kind, with any place, anywhere. It's just natural, and it's not being just prolific.
And you do make an interesting point, and I agree with you to a certain extent. But even though we are animals, we also are tempered by a level of intelligence that distinguishes us from other animals.
You think our animal species is above the porpoise or the whales or the?
Not necessarily.
Well,
but the thing is, our perception of sexualness is also intermixed with culture and senses of identity. Not every animal has an awareness of identity. At least one could argue that. So, and not every animal has sex for pleasure. I mean, there are a lot of other mammals that do, like the ones that you just mentioned, but most sex is centered on, reproduction. But for us, it's become less about reproduction and more about the connective experience that we share with somebody else.
I think that the other species just plain enjoy it. I look at the birds that I feed every day, and those little male birds, they just cannot keep their little nose in their own business, and try to eat the seeds and such when all the little female birds are there eating, and little boy bird comes along, hop, hop, jump, jump. I want to fuck you, and the little female birds run away, fly away, but the male birds just continue. Now that's a bird species, and not much difference from the man.
Oh, you do have a good point. I have had boys act that way before.
Well, I think that the human species has a conscience. Now, I know other species of animal have conscience, but I think we have an elevated type of consciousness, and it weighs on our decision making, and it weighs on our behavior a little bit more strongly, and that has to be taken into account. We're not just going to be jumping on whatever we want. And that's why we have standards. And that's why, I think, to me, that's what I'm getting out of what Donny's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's an elevated state of intelligence there.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
right?
At least we in the human group of animals like to think that way. Whether it is true or not, that I don't know.
That is a good point, but it just, from behavior, it seems that's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. That's just me, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's your age bracket group probably does think that. Mine is probably a little bit beyond now.
Mm-hmm.
And Donny, I'm learning so much from his group, because I don't understand the young ones, as most older people don't understand the young ones.
You also have to remember that I'm quite a bit different from a lot of the other gay people I know that are my age, because I'm always said, like, my friends always tell me that I have the mentality of a grandpa, so I don't know if that changes anything or not, but...
You're weird. You are what we would call an old soul. Yeah.
Well, you do have a mentality that is, in my opinion, beyond physical years. But I think that there's more for you to experience. Let's just say that.
Oh yeah,
as there is for me too.
Okay, listen, we're down to the end of our first show, our premiere show. Folks, thank you for listening. Thank you for telling everyone about the show. And we'll be on twice a month to start. twice a month. And then after that, we may decide to do more than just twice a month. Or we may decide to go to a 90-minute show. Whatever, folks, you follow along with us. We'll be here, and we love you. Believe it or not, we do love you. So, thank you for listening. And thank you, Sean. Thank you, Donny. And thank the good Lord up in heaven that we have breath in our lungs. Good night to everybody. Good night, Spider-Man.